Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Education meeting for the San Ramon Valley Unified School District on September 12th. We're glad you're here. I would like to let the audience know that we are video recording this meeting, and the recording is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel, and the link to the recording has been posted on the district website. So we just want everyone to know that we are recording. So we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and then if we could do attendance very briefly, starting with Anya.
Hi, everyone. Anya Iapin, student board member.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jesse Van Zee, representing Area 1.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for coming out. I'm Susanna Ordway, representing Area 4.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Shelley Clark, and I'm representing Area 2.
Hello, I'm Laura Bratt. I'm representing Area 3.
And Rachel Hurd, representing Area 5. So before we begin tonight's agenda, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic events that have recently unfolded in Morocco. On Friday, September 8th, 2023, Morocco was struck by a devastating earthquake that has caused immense suffering and loss. Events such as these remind us of the importance of coming together as a community to support and assist those in need. On behalf of the board, I ask that together we all take a moment of silence to remember and honor the thousands of victims from this tragedy. Thank you. So we have some very special student recognition to do tonight. So board, why don't you join me and Dr. Malloy up front, and we will call up these incredible students. So we're always happy to open a meeting by recognizing a few of our amazing students, hearing about the ways that they excel academically, pursue their passions, and give back to the community reinforces the reason that we all do what we do, and the reason that we are here tonight is all about the kids. Tonight we are recognizing 4, but it's now 7 students for their ongoing commitment and participation in Youth Giving Project, an organization that fosters the love and compassion among children and families impacted by chronic and serious illnesses. Let me introduce, first from Monte Vista, Anthony Chan, who's the president and founder of Youth Giving Project. Anthony, if you could just come on up. And since there are 7, I'm going to ask that maybe we do the applause once I get through all 7. Thank you. But as the president, he got his own applause. Vivek Bellam, who's the co-president, Audrey Liu, director of marketing and community outreach, and those students are all from Monte Vista, and Angad Punta Yadia, who's the chief technology officer from Cal High. And then we also have Amanda Bittler from Foothill High School, and Caitlin Kwan from San Ramon Valley High School, and Kaylee Kwan from Charlotte Wood Middle School. But I have some more good stuff to tell you about what they did. Youth Giving Project was formed 3 years ago during the quarantine of COVID, when Anthony started collecting ideas and designing activity kits. As the program gained momentum, he enlisted the help of other students, and the mission of designing and delivering kits officially began. Over the past 3 years, the group has designed art and STEM-based activity kits for pediatric patients, delivered over 3,600 kits to children's hospitals and care organizations, and launched an online forum where teens can talk to each other about urgent issues affecting young people, such as mental health. They also raise awareness for pediatric rare diseases, which often don't get enough funding or research. YGP, which is their acronym, creates awareness posts about these diseases on their website and on Facebook. Anthony, Vivek, Audrey, Angud, Amanda, Caitlin, and Kaylee, thank you. Thank you for what you did and all the other students who participated in the Youth Giving Project, for giving of your time, your talents to help others in our community who are facing significant challenges. We applaud your creativity and your desire to give back. You really make us proud. And we also have some staff recognition for tonight. Tonight, we'd also like to recognize one of our middle school science teachers, Teresa Doran, or I forgot the middle name, Teresa Butler Doran. Teresa, would you like to come up and stand here with us? Yeah, right in the center would be great. So back in April, we approved a conditional leave for Stone Valley teacher Teresa as she was applying for the Fulbright Distinguished Award in Teaching Research. We are happy to announce that she is one of only 20 teachers from across the country this year who were chosen for this prestigious teacher exchange program. Come January, Teresa will spend 5 months attending the University of Eastern Finland. While she's there, she will research best practices for teaching climate change and action, as well as designing curriculum that connects students across borders. She believes that students should be aware of the interconnectedness of the world, and the global competence should be at the forefront of teaching programs. In case anyone would like to follow her journey more closely, Teresa has created a Facebook page called Teacher Teresa Gone Global. Congratulations to you, Teresa. We can't wait to see the contributions and the impact your time in Finland will have on your colleagues and on our students here in the San Ramon Valley when you return. Pardon?
I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you for your support. This recognition really means the world to me. And I'm so looking forward to this opportunity to go to Finland and observe their teaching practices, and then to bring something back for us to try something new and hopefully connect students across borders. And just wanted to really thank you for your support through this whole process. I'm very, very excited. Thank you.
Okay, so now diving back into the actual agenda, we need to report out on actions taken in closed session. And in this evening's closed session, the board unanimously voted to approve Daron Marcus as coordinator of curriculum and instruction. And I believe the start date is tomorrow. Is that correct, Melanie? Okay, so congratulations. Okay. Next thing here is acceptance of minutes, and we do have a revision in front of us, you guys. And can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, now we are at agenda approval and consent action. So first, can we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda for open session?
I'll make the motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
So now we're at approval of consent agenda. The consent items are considered routine in nature and are approved by combining them into a single vote. Only a member of the board may request that a consent item be removed for separate consideration. However, the public may comment on a consent item before the board approves the consent agenda. And I don't believe we have any cards for that. So can we move on to a motion for consent?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent items.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Van Zee and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, reports to the board. 10.1 school highlight with Bollinger Canyon Elementary School. I'd like to invite up Principal Christine Offerman.
Yes, test. Good evening. You guys can hear me okay? First, I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to present about our school. I also wanted to take a second just to acknowledge people in the audience that are from Bollinger Canyon. If you guys could raise your hands. All right. So the first aspect of our school that I'd like to highlight is the work that we're doing around multi-tiered systems of support. So Bollinger Canyon has always been a school that has studied data. We've also always been a school that has believed in targeted instruction. However, now we're able to go way deeper. So with the addition of our MTSS liaison, our school counselor, our assistant principal, we're able to do more collaboration, not only globally with the four of us as a team to look at school data, talk about our school gaps and what we need to do to improve our school from multiple perspectives. We're also able to use our team to meet with small groups of staff. For example, our school counselor meets regularly with our social emotional team to talk about students that are in those programs, how they're doing, how they're progressing, if they're not progressing, what we can do to support them. And then on the flip side, our MTSS liaison pushes in to grade level meetings. She meets with our intervention team and all the conversations around cycles of study. So for example, we just finished our SEL cycle. We're now in our planning week for our first academic cycle. So teachers are meeting every single day. They're looking at multiple data points. They're talking about targeted goals for students. They're talking about common assessments. progress monitoring, all of the things that we want to do to make sure that every student on our campus is making progress. A little shout out to our Bulldog Fund. The picture of the ladies that you see on the screen, 4 of those employees are funded by our Ed Fund through parent donations. The second aspect of our school that I'd like to highlight is social emotional learning. So we believe at Bollinger Canyon that school connectedness equals student engagement. We know that when students are connected to their school, they feel a part of their community and they feel connected to their classrooms. They're going to feel safe. They're going to be more willing to take risks, and they're going to be more engaged in their learning. So all of the social emotional learning that we do at Bollinger is all about this idea of connectedness equaling engagement. There's a bunch of bullets on the slide. I'm just going to highlight 3 things that we think makes our school unique. The first is our monthly learning program. So previously we would have character traits of the month. Instead, we decided to turn those into monthly statements about kind of who we want to be as a school. So for example, last month, the month of August, our monthly learning was at Bollinger Canyon, we value our own identities and the diversity that we see in other people. So we have 3 read alouds that we pick that align with our monthly learning. We have a team of teachers that picks a book that the whole school reads. I read a book, and then our librarian reads a book, all aligned with our monthly learning. The next thing is our monthly flag salutes. So we bring our whole school together once a month. We do a cheer, we sing a patriotic song, and then we talk about our monthly learning and our student leadership program. They do a presentation to the whole school about what the monthly learning means to them, what it feels like and looks like from their eyes. The last bullet I want to highlight is that of inclusion with our students with intensive needs. So Bollinger is the one elementary of our 22 that is the home to our intensive specialized academic instruction program. And we believe so strongly in valuing the differences that we see in each other. We have multiple programs that foster inclusion, like our PE teacher who runs, we call it a buddy program with our upper grade students. So every single week for the entire school year, our upper grade students are meeting with our students with special needs and developing relationships over time. We have our teachers of our intensive team who are pushing into gen ed classes for art lessons, for my read alouds. They're going to music, recess, lunch, all of those things. These are all opportunities that are unique to our school to teach our students about the value of being different and learning how to develop relationships with people that are different than us. The last aspect of our school I'd like to highlight is deep learning. So this strategic direction, along with social emotional learning, has just been a highlight of the work we've been doing over the past couple years. So we had a small group of teachers who were a part of the original cohort. They took risks in their classrooms. They did these projects. They saw the direct correlation of student engagement as they did these projects. That engagement sparked their passion, sparked more excitement. That excitement went to other teachers. We had more teachers join our deep learning work. And now as a school, deep learning is sort of one of the things that we just do school wide. So last year, our teachers voted to have a goal around deep learning. Every teacher did a deep learning project. And this year, our goal is to do 2 projects in addition to having a school-wide theme where every grade level will do a project based on our school-wide theme second semester. And then we also do have a teacher leadership team around deep learning. Before I show you this video, I want to read you a quote. Teaching is ultimately an act of hope. Every time I teach a lesson, I hope it will inspire learning. Every time I intervene with a struggling student, I hope it will change the trajectory of their path. The temptation to fall into cynicism is alive and well in education. However, hope is the choice I make every day. We're hoping that this video that highlights the work that we do at our school will inspire hope in all of you who support the work that we're doing at the school sites. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. You have put our strategic directions into action. And we can set the policies, but it's all of you who are educators who make it happen. And it benefits all of our students. And I am personally blown away by what you're doing and this kind of support that you're providing to all of our kids and the things that are happening. So thank you for making our strategic directions come to life and be real and benefiting all the kids who are Bollinger. You're doing a great job.
Phenomenal work. I love the video, and I especially love your kind of that vision with that quote on hope and how important that is, and can see your team here all really supportive of that, and it's very evident. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, thanks for taking, I think, the staff too, along, right, with students and deep learning and everything. So, but yes, like Shelley said, you're very, very visibly implementing the strategic direction. Thank you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the inclusive work that you're doing. And I love that statement about, you know, showing our kids that differences have value and that they're wonderful, and then putting that in place with the actions and the activities that they're exposed to and experience. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'd just like to add on that I really appreciate how you were able to talk to everything you talked about in just a normal kind of way. You weren't reading anything. You were just, I totally believe that you live the strategic directions, and your staff does too. And it just really was apparent. You just made it didn't sound like words. It sounded like real. Thank you, Christine. Thank you. And thank you, Bollinger staff, for coming. So our next report is, we have a group of 4 of them on the resolutions that will be being acknowledged or celebrated during the next month. We have first one is Safe Schools Month in October, and invite Dave Kravitz up.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Malloy, cabinet members. Thank you for having me. As most of us know, but maybe not everybody, every year in October, we commemorate Safe Schools Month throughout the United States, and specifically here in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District. Before I begin, I would like to congratulate Christine and her staff and her parent community and her students and on that presentation, because many of the things that Christine highlighted is really embedded throughout our school district at each level in different ways. And I'll touch on a few of those in my presentation, both this one and my bullying prevention presentation. But the work she's done there, as you've all said and acknowledged, I think just needs to be repeated. Fantastic job, Christine, and her community. Thank you. So in October, the 3rd week annually of October commemorates America's Safe School Week. This year it's October 15th through the 21st. Our goal, our priority as a school district and at each of our school sites throughout the district is to maintain a safe and disruption-free learning environment. That is paramount to what we do as a school district. In doing so, we have no tolerance for bullying or any type of violent behaviors. When those things do occur, unfortunately, we do our best to address them appropriately, down to the last bullet point, with appropriate consequences, and to instill restorative practices to help repair the harm that has taken place within that community, whether it be between 2 people or an entire community and anything that lands in between. We do our best at each and every one of our school sites and within the school district to address and eliminate all forms of discrimination. We all know it occurs. But when it does occur and we're made aware of it, we want to do everything within our power to address it and stop it and to prevent it from happening ever again. And of course, we're in the job of teaching and learning. So we want to communicate clearly all of our behavioral expectations of our students so that they can meet those expectations, so that we'll have fewer incidences on our campuses. As a district, we engage in planning and in partnerships with a wide range of groups and a wide range of plans, quite frankly. So here is a brief list of some items that we do as a school district. With district support, our schools develop their school safety plans. That happens every year. Our partnership with our emergency responders, our police, our local police departments, our sheriff department, as well as our fire department, is critical to ensure that we have safe campuses. We work with them to help plan, to help prevent, and then how best to respond if an incident does occur on our campus. Fortunately, for a number of years, the SRVUSD has been in partnership with the Discovery Counseling Center located in Danville, but serves the entire community, our community, in many different ways, specifically at school sites through our Skip Counselor Intern Program. We have members there that help support our mental health needs of our students and support all of our staff members that are mental health professionals in doing so, as well as our alternative to suspension program, which I believe I've spoken to the board about in the past. We work alongside this Discovery Counseling Center when an incident does occur where a student might violate one of our rules and an alternate to being suspended, they can go get counseling at the Discovery Counseling Center. Also, we work in partnership with the County Office of Education, Contra Costa County Office of Education, by participating some of our district staff members in the social emotional learning cohort to help develop and implement social emotional learning practices throughout our school district. And we're also a part of the consortium through the County Office of Ed, the TUPE program, which stands for Tobacco Use Prevention Education, to again have site coordinators at each of our school sites, middle and high school sites specifically, to help educate our students about the dangers of tobacco use, drug use, and alcohol use. The SRVUSD Care Line is critical to supporting our goal of maintaining and keeping all of our students and our staff members safe. Any community member, any student, any staff member can report directly to an administrator a concern. Okay, any type of concern, but for this presentation, a safety concern. And if you want to do so anonymously, that's what the SRVUSD Care Line is there for. The designated administrator at each of our school sites will be alerted, as well as their supervisor here at the district office, so that we can go ahead and address those, address, and then help prevent, okay, any type of incidents that might be a concern of any of our community members. And then finally, our California Healthy Kids Survey, we go over that data every single year to help guide our work, to find out how our kids are feeling on campus. It covers a wide range of topics in regards to feeling safe, physically, mentally, emotionally, and we do our best as a district to address that data in our forward planning to make sure that we are addressing and then hopefully increasing the amount of students and staff members on our campus that feel safe. Finally, specifically for school sites, again, this is not a complete list, but it just shows you an example of some of the things that happen at each of our school sites. Our administrators and our staff conduct emergency drills, the required amount of emergency drills at each level, elementary, middle, and high school, to ensure that they are prepared in the event of an emergency that might occur on our campuses. Our partnership with our police departments, both in Danville and in San Ramon, are critical through our school resource officers. We're indebted to those police departments that they provide that to us. And for those that might not know, yes, a school resource officer might spend his or her time mostly at the high school campus, but they are charged to work for the feeder pattern for each of our 4 high school feeder patterns. Our facilities department for a number of years have been working hard to install fencing around all of our campuses, as well as security cameras or maintaining security cameras and upgrading security cameras at all of our campuses. Our maintenance department works tirelessly to maintain our facilities. As somebody who used to file work orders when I was a first-year assistant principal, that could be a big job. both for the administrator who's following them and then our maintenance department to help fix whatever items need fixing to again, make sure that things are safe and well maintained. Our partnership with our district council of PTAs, as well as each site's PTA, is critical to receive feedback from our parent community and our teacher community at the high school level, student community, feedback, ideas, and to help guide our administrators in continually staying vigilant to make sure our campuses are safe. And then finally, our students and staff. Just listed there are administrators, our campus supervisors, our teachers, our classified staff, our custodians, every adult on campus and every student on campus. It's a collective, okay? We want to ensure that everybody feels safe, both for learning purposes, working purposes, our physical, emotional, and mental safety is ensured. By working together, we stand our best chance to maintain that type of environment. Finally, our mission is to create a culture of reporting. We want people to talk to us. We want people to express their concerns to us. So that phrase that you see there, you'll see it on our website. You'll see it in many of our emails embedded in what we do. If you see something, know something, say something. We don't want people to assume that our site admin teams know everything that's going on their campuses. We rely on the support of people reporting to us. Thank you. Any questions?
I just wanted to say thank you as a parent who has kids within the district. I mean, that's one of the most important things, like you said, is paramount to what we do, is knowing that when we're dropping our kids off at these schools, that they're safe. And, you know, it's not a comforting thing to think about some of these things, but it's absolutely essential that we're doing these. And this is very detailed. We have a very specific plan. We're following it, and we're doing everything to avoid anything that could be avoided. So thank you for that presentation and all the work that we're doing.
Just, you know, we want to hear from people, right? Sometimes people get caught up in that they don't bring something forward because they're worried about retaliation. We can't address it if we don't know about it. And I think to a person, everyone wants to make things better. So, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, the second report is on Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through 31st, and invite Jessica Colson up.
Good evening, everybody, board members, superintendent, cabinet. Thank you for having me here tonight. So I'm here to talk about Red Ribbon Week, which is always the last week of October. This year's theme is Be Kind to Your Mind, Live Drug-Free. Every year there's a contest for the artwork and the slogan for Red Ribbon Week. And this year it was submitted by Danielle Helm, a youth service coordinator from Russell County Middle School in Russell Springs, Kentucky. And this year's theme is a reminder that everyday Americans across the country make significant daily contributions to their communities by being the best they can be because they live drug-free. She says, I chose this theme because drugs alter our current brain development and hinders further growth. Drugs decrease levels of neurotransmitters in the reward system of our brain, such as dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. This can block our brain from naturally experiencing happiness, says Danielle. Be Kind to Your Mind, Live Drug-Free is about making positive choices to be happy and healthy. That is being kind to your mind. So this year, entries for Red Ribbon Week 2024 must be received by December 4th, 2023 at midnight. Or 11:59, I should say. So we're going to encourage all of our students to submit slogans and artwork. So the Red Ribbon Week campaign is supported by the National Family Partnership, formerly the National Federation of Parents for Drug-Free Youth. It was established as a grassroots nonprofit organization in 1980 by a handful of concerned and determined parents who were convinced they should begin to play a leadership role in drug prevention. Since its founding 30 years ago, NFP has devoted its efforts to the well-being of youth. Today, NFP is a national leader in drug prevention, education, and advocacy. Since its beginning in 1985, the Red Ribbon has touched the lives of millions of people around the world. In 1988, NFP sponsored the first National Red Ribbon celebration. Today, the Red Ribbon serves as a catalyst to mobilize communities, to educate youth, and to encourage participation in drug prevention activities. And to that end, this is a list of possible and former activities that our sites have engaged in during Red Ribbon Week. We have red ribbons around campus. They are decorated. Often you'll drive by and see entire fences kind of woven through with red ribbons. There are spirit days, contests, art projects. There was poetry slam a couple years ago. So lots of celebration for the week surrounding Red Ribbon and promoting healthy lifestyles. Thank you so much.
Any questions for Jessica? Thank you. Okay, the third presentation is School Administrator Week, October 9th through 13th with Melanie Jones.
Good evening, trustees. I am very pleased to be able to present to you the resolution for Week of the School Administrator. Every year during the week of October 9th through 13th, we recognize all of our school administrators in a resolution that we're bringing forward this evening. I would like to share that we are very fortunate in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District to have an exceptional group of school leaders, both at the district level and at the site level. I'd like to take a few moments to share with you and highlight some of the things that the school leaders bring to the San Ramon Valley Unified School District. School leaders shape a vision of success for all students. School leaders create a positive school climate. School leaders empower teachers and cultivate leadership in others. School leaders guide instructional decisions that improve teaching and learning. School leaders understand the importance of community building. School leaders create collaborative and inclusive learning environments for students. School leaders encourage risk-taking. School leaders are passionate about their work. And school leaders, most of all, lead by example. So again, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank all of our wonderful school leaders, both at the district and site level, because we know that they exemplify all of our strategic directions and they are supporting their schools' communities to ensure that all of our students are successful. And just to share with you, more slides, just here's a picture of our management retreat of some of our school leaders engaging in important conversations in preparation for the school year back in August. And then finally, our last slide, just a few more pictures to highlight all the wonderful work that all of our school leaders did in preparation for the 23-24 school year. And again, finally, thank you to all of our school leaders for all of their dedication and hard work and service to our school communities. Thank you.
Okay, and the fourth one is National Bullying Prevention Month in October, and we welcome Dave Kravitz back.
Thank you again. National Bullying Prevention Month, every year commemorated during the month of October. This is a topic or an issue that is near and dear to many of our hearts. Having students feel again safe and comfortable on campus so they best can learn, and preventing others to take advantage of peers in any way, shape, or form is something that we strive for perfection in. Just like we do with safe schools, we always are striving to better ourselves and to educate and prevent. I thought it might be important to define what bullying is, okay, based in Ed Code and board policy and our administrative regulations. Bullying is any act, physically, verbally, written, or electronically. It can take place in any of these areas. That is severe or pervasive acts of conduct. Again, to exploit, to demean, to make others feel less than. Bullying may cause reasonable fear or harm to a person or to their property. Bullying is detrimental to a student's academic performance, physically, or to their physical or mental health. And bullying absolutely can interfere with access to school programs and activities. So that's the definition of what bullying is. What's important is to prevent it from ever happening. Again, this is a list of items or things that we do throughout our school district, not at every site. And there are many things that are not listed there, but I wanted to highlight a few of those items. Through classroom read alouds or meetings or discussions conducted by both administrators and by teachers, or by outside groups that might be invited in to help educate our students about what it is, what it isn't, but more importantly, how to prevent it, how to stand up for yourselves, and how to intervene on behalf of other students. That's what takes place in our classroom read alouds, also within school assemblies and throughout our curriculum. Buddy benches. These you'll see at many of our elementary campuses. If a student's feeling lonely or just doesn't have a friend that day, or hopefully it's just for a day, they can go sit on a buddy bench during recess or during lunches, and other students will recognize that and go up and talk to that student, sit with that student, eat lunch, invite them to sit with them, play with them in any way, shape, or form, to again help make all students feel that they're a part of that community. Playground pals. We have some programs at some of our sites in which school counselors are training student leaders, and it could be any student that volunteers to do so, on how to intervene on the playground when there is some sort of discord that might be taking place between students. It could be while playing basketball or any type of activity, to help, again, stop it in its tracks and help educate both parties about, hey, that's not what we do in our community at our school. Safe School Ambassadors is similar to that, but it's for the secondary level, middle and high school levels. It's a program, it's a partnership with a CBO that will help us install student leaders on campuses that want to do the exact same thing, to recognize what bullying is and to intervene and to stop it. And they're trained by our staff, who is trained by the Southside organization, to help ensure that our hallways are safe, our campuses are safe. Social emotional well-being, one of our important strategic directions, is paramount to making sure that bullying does not take place. We want everybody to feel strongly about who they are on our campus and as a member of our community. And then again, the care line. We want people to report to us, whether it's bullying or not, it's okay to report it so that we can address it. If you feel the need that it doesn't appear right and somebody's being exploited in some way, shape, or form, let us know so that we can address it. Whether it meets the definition of bullying or not, we want to prevent it from happening. There are different days during October in which bullying prevention day within the month of October can be celebrated. I listed 3 different dates that within our district, some of our sites have celebrated on that day. On October 2nd, World Day of Bullying Prevention. You can commemorate that day at the school site, and people are encouraged to wear blue. Or a school can choose October 11th, National Stop Bullying Day, and they can wear odd socks, crazy socks, wild socks, whatever socks you might have. And then October 18th is Unity Day. And on that day, many of our schools celebrate on that day by wearing orange. And again, as I ended my last presentation, to help prevent bullying, we want that culture of reporting. It's okay to report. We encourage you to report so that our school administrators can help address it and stop it. So again, if you see something, know something, please say something. Thank you.
I have a question. So how is it determined which campuses do any particular program around bullying? How do they decide?
The school site will decide. We don't direct them to celebrate or to commemorate on a particular day. We just encourage them to do so throughout the month, and they can choose a day in which they do commemorate if they so choose to do so.
So we have outside programs that come in, like No Place for Hate and things like that. So
That can happen.
does each campus decide whether they want to have, for example, No Place for Hate?
We encourage all campuses, and I'm not 100% sure if every single campus has a partnership with No Place for Hate, but I remember when I was a principal that we were encouraged to do so, and we reached out and we became partners with No Place for Hate to implement.
I'm sure there are others. That was just one that came to mind for
Absolutely.
me.
Absolutely, yes. But
So it's
to answer your question, most sites will determine what they need and which group to partner with.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, our next report is Strategic Directions, Culture of Responsiveness, presentation by Debbie Pettish.
Alrighty. Good evening, President Hurd, fellow board members and distinguished members of cabinet. I am here, of course, tonight to provide you with an update on one of our strategic directions, the culture of responsiveness. So before we delve a little bit too much into the culture of responsiveness, I really wanted to provide some more context with regard to where this kind of fits into the larger picture of what we're trying to do here in SRVUSD. So of course, we are built on a foundation of academic excellence. I think we all know that, and we're extremely proud of that. But we also want to broaden that definition of success in order for all students to be able to thrive, and to thrive not just when they're with us during their TK or pre-K through 12 or transition experiences here in SRVUSD, but also thrive, of course, in their post-secondary endeavors, whatever those may be. So what do we mean by the word thrive? Because I'm sure if I asked 5 people to define it, they may define it in 5 different ways. The way that we are defining it for SRVUSD is with our learner profile competencies, which we brought here in June, and essentially outlined the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes, really the competencies that we want students to have when they leave us. And so from kindergarten through 12th grade, these again are skills that we want to foster. So we want our students to be critical thinkers. We want them to be creative contributors, adaptable learners, effective communicators, and intentional collaborators. And we truly feel if they're able to acquire these competencies, then they will be successful in their post-high school endeavors. Of course, our strategic directions. And so what you can see, of course, on the top is our highest priority. We want students, all of our students, to be able to learn at high levels, okay? In order to do that, we need a strong foundation for that pyramid, excuse me. So we need to be able to, of course, share leadership across our community partners, with our certificated staff, our classified staff, our parents, our caregivers, our students. We want also to be an effective steward of resources, right? We want to be able to utilize our resources in effective ways. And then, of course, why I'm here tonight, we want to be culturally responsive to the individuals that we work alongside. So this slide is actually really important because I find sometimes when I say we want to either improve our responsiveness or increase our responsiveness, people go immediately to, oh, you're going to return emails more quickly or phone calls. And I will say that is extremely important. Okay, that is absolutely 100% that something that we strive to do, but it's not all encompassing. So if you read the strategic direction carefully, it talks about the fact that we will effectively serve all partners by listening. Okay, they will be responding promptly, which I just mentioned, but we will also be changing practices when appropriate and communicating the rationale for decisions so that the students remain the focus of all that we do here in SRVUSD. So please keep this definition in mind. Of course, we have an SRVUSD specific data dashboard, which is grounded in our strategic directions. Its purpose is to really demonstrate growth over time with regard to all 6 of our strategic directions, and also be an accountability tool that, of course, you and our community can use to ensure that we are kind of staying on track with what we want to do with regard to our strategic directions. A component of the dashboard is this idea of a culture of responsiveness. But in order to develop baseline data, in order to really ascertain where we were with regard to this culture of responsiveness, we needed to do a survey. So in the spring, of course, we designed and sent out a survey, again, to collect this baseline data to determine where we were. And this survey essentially assessed the district overall in terms of responsiveness. It asked specifically about departments. So it asked about human resources. It asked about ed services. It asked specifically about facilities, curriculum, and instruction. And then, of course, all of our school sites. It asked parents and staff specifically about their experiences at the sites as well. Again, we gave it in the spring, administered it to the community and to the staff. And I really want to highlight the importance of us being responsive to our students as well. But we just felt that A, we give them a lot of surveys, and B, some of this data is really collected in the California Healthy Kids Survey. So we don't want to over survey them, especially at a time when they had CASP and AP testing going on. But I do want to prioritize, obviously, that's very important to us. So we had a total of 3,333 respondents, so 2,386 parents and caregivers, and 947 staff members. So we have 3 goals associated with this particular strategic direction. The first goal is to improve parent satisfaction with responsiveness. Again, how we defined it a couple of minutes ago. Improve staff satisfaction with district responsiveness, and then increase the participation of staff, students, parents, caregivers, and the overall community in the decision-making process. Okay, so our first slide here, and I have 3 slides that represent the data. So what you'll see here in the first slide, again, this is providing us with some baseline information. And what we did was we looked at 4 different indicators to determine parent satisfaction. So we looked at the extent to which parents felt that we were clearly and effectively communicating with them. We asked them about the services that we provide and whether or not those services were easy to access or not. We asked them questions about the extent to which they believe that we make decisions that support student learning. And then we asked them more generally about whether or not they believe we respond to the needs of our community. And again, what you're seeing up here on this slide is the percentage of parents who are either completely satisfied or satisfied with those particular indicators. Okay. So what you can see here is 74% felt that we clearly and effectively communicate. Again, this is parent and caregivers. 67% of respondents felt that our services were easy to access. Those are all 67, I double checked my numbers. Decisions to support student learning, again, 67%. And then responds to the needs of community. 67% felt that they were satisfied or completely satisfied with how we do that. So then parallel to this slide is the slide for staff satisfaction. So once again, this indicates the percentage of staff who are either completely satisfied or satisfied with these particular indicators. And we had more for staff, and I think it'll become clear as to why in a minute. So what you'll see there is 74% clear and effective communication with parents. So we asked staff their thoughts about the extent to which we clearly and effectively communicate with parents. 74% said we did a good job with that. That goes down to 64%, however, when we ask staff how well we communicate with them. So there's a discrepancy there that I think is really, really important. 58% felt that we had easy to access services. 64% said they felt we made decisions to support student learning. 63% respond to the needs of the community. And again, these last 2, I think are fairly important as well. 50% felt that either completely satisfied or satisfied at the extent to which we responded to the needs of our staff members. And again, this was certificated and classified staff members. And 49% felt that we made decisions that support staff. So I think that you can see there's a little bit of a disconnect there with regard to how they feel maybe we interact with our community, our parents and our caregivers versus them. And then finally, this slide, of course, is attached to our third goal, which was improving staff, parent, caregiver participation and decision making. So this was the percentage of parents or staff who either completely agree or somewhat agree with the following statements. So our conflicts resolved through discussion and dialogue. Again, you can see parents slightly higher, 62 versus 56. Encouraged to share my perspective, 65 versus 60. And then again, my input is valued, 59 versus 54. And I'll tell you, when we talk to some of our thought partners with regard to this data and how it compares to the data that other districts from really around the country have, ours is relatively high, right? And so there's room for improvement, absolutely 100%, but especially with regard to parents and caregivers, we were relatively high with regard to our percentages. So again, overall data trends, parents and caregivers generally satisfied. There's 100% room for improvement. And that's why I feel like we definitely have a growth mindset here in SRVUSD and we can always do better. Absolutely. Staff are less likely than parents to be satisfied with our responsiveness. And then again, while they're generally satisfied with what we're doing, we could do a better job of asking for specific input from those groups when making decisions. Our next steps, and so we really want to better understand kind of the qualitative data around why they responded the way that they did. So we're going to do a thought exchange for both parents, caregivers, and then our staff members, asking them these specific questions. What can we improve to demonstrate that we do value your input? And then to the staff, what concrete actions or strategies would you suggest for us to use in order to improve in these particular areas? So, and then we will of course look at that and assess next steps accordingly. Some other things that we've done, again, each department at the district level, so whether it was certificated human resources, benefits, facilities, curriculum and instruction and services, we've spent hours dissecting our department specific data. And we have taken it to our individual teams and we've shared this data with them as well. And we've talked about what we can be doing differently in order to be more responsive. And so we all have very specific site or department goals around our responsiveness and how we can improve it. And then also our school sites, we wanted to give this presentation, and then all of our district supervisors will be sharing information with the school sites. So they have a better understanding of how their community, how their staff assess their level of responsiveness as well. Some of our sites were very high and probably won't need to add an additional goal, and others struggled a little bit more and will probably need to add a specific goal around responsiveness in addition to their academic goals. We're also under the leadership of Dr. Nguyen, doing more work with our student affinity groups. So there's an additional like structures added to those groups to ensure that we're hearing from as many students as possible. And then finally, we really want to communicate more effectively how we are making these decisions, because I think sometimes everyone is moving so fast, we're going so quickly. Even when we get input and we make a decision, we feel that sometimes we are not effectively communicating the rationale for those decisions and explaining we got input from these groups. This is why we made that decision, right? So just communicating those more effectively. And that wraps up my presentation.
Go ahead, Shelley. Or Laura, either one. So how do we find the parents? How do we communicate with them to get them to participate so that we're reaching a cross section of the parent community when answering these questions, because a lot of times the parents who are super involved in school, whether they volunteer or they're part of the Ed Fund or the PTA or whatever, are more apt to maybe answer these surveys, but then it may not be, it may be like skewed a little bit. So how are we going about that?
Well, that's a great question. We've been talking a lot internally about instead of like sending things out en masse or that can still be one part of our strategy, really going through smaller groups so that they're understanding what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so really connecting with the principals so that they can go to their particular groups. And I know there's PTA, Site Council, Ed Fund, I think is probably what you're referring to, Trustee Clark. But there's other groups of individuals that I think naturally reach out to get input that I think coming from the principal, the parents would be much more likely to respond as opposed to coming from the district office. It's much more personal. So we've been kind of brainstorming additional ways to do that. Absolutely. Things like our ELACs and our DLACs. Some of our, we have many schools that qualify for Title I services that hold meetings with parents whose students are eligible for Title I services. So those types of groups as well.
So I assume this is baseline data, correct?
This is our baseline data.
Okay, and we'll be doing these surveys every year or?
Every year in the spring.
Okay, great. And then also to clarify, and I apologize if you stated this, but when you were gathering this data, you did gather which sites the parents were speaking to and staff as well?
We did, absolutely. So it's quite interesting because you can also view the data broken down by school with regard to how staff and the community view that school responsiveness, but also how that particular community views the district's responsiveness. So you can see how that kind of changes by area and by specific school site. So yes. And then we also have, of course, the number of parents and students who responded, or I'm sorry, parents and staff who responded. So we can have a kind of a better idea of what the size of the population is that responded.
Yeah.
And if I can just add to that. Part of what we also have to do is we look to next year. Baseline is great. We can do the thought exchange to get some specific strategies and we can employ those strategies so that we can improve. But sample size matters with surveys. So at the district level, you saw that when we were working with the researchers who helped us put it together, we're statistically significant when you're talking about that level of participation. Depending upon the school, some had better participation than others. So when we're working with our principals who will share data with their community, we will help them walk through the concept of why it's important for us to get more involvement. Because if you have 700 kids in a school and you only had 30 at that particular school, those percentages positively or negatively don't necessarily tell an appropriate story. So we can tell an appropriate story at the district level based upon the data. We will follow through to look at district strategies, but some schools will have a harder time than others based upon the number of people who participate.
Yeah, and to that point, so you mentioned that the supervisors would be speaking with the school site administration and then staff about the responsiveness data from that specific school site. Will we be doing the same with the parents in at each of those school site communities, not just a district-wide thought exchange, which again would kind of rise that level to, a broader.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you're asking that because anytime I get a survey like this back, I'm always looking for the answer. Like, what can my department do differently? What can we do differently? And I have to caution myself because the survey, the quantitative results are not going to provide us with that information. Conversations, I think, will provide us with hopefully a more accurate direction in which we need to go, or at least try going, before we determine whether or not that's something that's going to work, right? An intervention that's going to work in order to create an increase in our scores.
And the other thing that we are also cognizant of, and it aligns with a conversation I had recently with a parent who said that it's hard to see the district's responsiveness when the decisions or actions don't align with what I want to see. And my response was, but that's why we are doing our very best to create the dynamic of bringing as many people into the discussion, because our community doesn't agree on a number of important topics. And we are charged with your direction to us, our direction with the schools to implement. And it can't be that everyone's going to feel heard if the definition is, I'm feeling heard when you are able to do what we've asked. Because we don't have that type of unified voice. And frankly, that's normal. That's not making us any different at the San Ramon Valley Unified School District. But we're really going to have to be careful that responsiveness doesn't always mean that we can do what you've asked. Responsiveness means we're listening, we're communicating, we're explaining as much as we can without breaking any kind of confidentiality rules and such, and realizing at the end of the day, there will be some have to, I hope, agree to disagree, because we can't always create a dynamic where everyone is going to feel heard, because we already know if we just look at our own district discussions in this boardroom, that's not possible. So it's more a question of how we engage in the difficult discussions, how we respond to the difficult questions, and hoping that when people are giving us feedback, even if we can't fulfill exactly what they're asking, that there's still a belief that they've been treated respectfully. That's what we are striving for in the context of responsiveness. And the reason I'm sharing that is because I have had other parents reach out as well with the exact same sentiment, regardless of what their beliefs are. So it's kind of widespread what responsiveness means. And we're gonna have to do a little bit of work that, and it may come through in the thought exchange, that will help us focus in on, can we actually do what what is suggested we do through that process? That's going to be the next step. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens there, because as you know, as much as some members of our community have challenged the thought exchange process, the reason why I like it is because it allows everybody to see everything. It allows everybody to see everything that people are thinking. And if somebody feels that something should rise to the top, they continue to affirm that. So we're going to get to see not just what the top 5 things are. That particular platform allows us to see where we agree and where we disagree, where we're close and where we're far apart. And then we'll bring that back into this room so that you have full understanding about how we're going to navigate responsiveness with the actual feedback in mind.
I would be curious, and I don't know if you could figure this out from maybe the next round of survey, or maybe the thought exchange would be a way, is if people who have been part of steering committees or some other sort of involvement in the district, whether it's OAC or whatever, might have a different sense of responsiveness. Because something I've experienced, at least while I've been on steering committees, that I think I really want to lift up our current staff on, is I don't feel like the process has been create something, go to a group, get some feedback, say, check, we involved parents and staff, and then go back and do, and it's been iterative. And on every one of the committees, it's been like that. And especially on the profile of the learner one, it was fascinating to watch the process. And now then it came back, and then it was iterative. And so I'm wondering if folks can get, if they're able to get involved, if they would actually see or experience the responsiveness differently than when they only get to give feedback at the end of something.
Great point. I'll have to ponder that.
Yeah.
How we collect that data. But I love that. And I appreciate you saying the iterative nature of those meetings. Because when I saw the staff data, I was a bit disappointed, because I've been here for a long time, and it's absolutely 100% not anything that anyone that I work with wants to do. But we do understand that that's how it's coming across to some, and we want to work on that.
And maybe part of it was that a lot of the work was a little more open-ended, how it was brought to the committees, rather than here's something we've baked, how does it taste, as opposed to help us create it. And it was more interactive.
Well, I was wondering, on your point, right, then maybe for those parents and staff members, teachers who are not able to, right, to be part of a committee or something because of, time or, whatever. If there's a way that we can communicate the
Process.
the process. Yeah, exactly. So that they can't you know, be in a steering meeting or something and go through the whole thing, but at least they can see what the process is and be maybe participatory that way.
Yeah, I have to ponder that too. I know we have a great website now where we're going to be putting all of our agendas, and I'm wondering if there's a way maybe they could provide feedback ongoing as opposed to waiting. What we did at the last iteration of the steering committees, we kind of waited to the end and then we made recommendations that involved everybody in the community, but we could maybe do that a little bit ahead of time.
And my only takeaway comment too was looking through this, there was a few that were surprising to me. And, but then also kind of thinking back to the survey and going, well, what, like on a granular level, what does that mean? And is it to Dr. Malloy's point of, you know, I didn't appreciate how it resolved. And that might be even interesting to see what are those things that people aren't appreciative of how they resolved. That's even worth looking into as well. And then also just trying to figure out what are there any like specific themes that keep coming up. And I think that that's actually where the thought exchange shines well, is because you can get some of these themes and comments that then get pulled up into that AI data that pumps it out, right?
And I will say, just because it came up the last time we did thought exchange, we know from the experts behind the platform, just because there was a worry that someone could actually sit at their computer and just keep hitting a number, the platform knows how to sort through that and allow all the different views to rise to the top. I also think that part of what I'm really interested in, this being the third district where I've been superintendent, is I would say culturally, I experience more what the district is, what the district's doing. And when I unpack that with staff and family, sometimes it's actually not us at all. That's important for us to keep in mind. Well, the district made that decision. Well, help me understand who did. Because sometimes when I am receiving this kind of feedback and I sit in the seat that I do and know that that may not have come from cabinet, we unpack where it came from. Doesn't mean a good decision or a good process didn't happen. Sometimes we did make a hard decision and maybe we weren't able to communicate all of the steps effectively. Sometimes we may have had to make a decision where I shared earlier, we're not permitted to speak about all of the pieces to the puzzle, because when it deals with children, for example, or privacy or personnel matters, we have legal obligations to fulfill. So all of these dynamics, I think we can improve upon where possible. And we're hoping that, number one, we appreciate that you passed the strategic direction. Number two, that we now have baseline data from which to improve. Number three, we can ask for a little bit more specificity regarding what would make the difference so that we can then create 3 or 4 strategies that we will employ to see if next April we see some differences based upon what is happening. So that's what I think is the process that I'm really excited we have the vehicle for now, because we have something to compare it to. And I think we can't improve unless we're actually talking about the real data. And that's what this has provided.
Yeah, and I would also, in speaking to the differences between the parent caregiver data and the staff data, looking at and thinking about the fact that the experience that a parent has in the system is going to be a lot different than a staff member. So a parent has different teachers every year. Their kids do. So they have different points of communication within their school site. A teacher or a staff member oftentimes has the same manager, the same principal, the same cohort of staff members, team members, year in and year out. And so that might create a settling of how you're communicating with a staff member that you have had on your staff for 10 years. You know, there might be some implied understanding that you may be thinking that they may not be appreciating, right? Those types of things. And so really breaking it apart more than just the data, looking at the 2 cohorts in their experience and in the way that they experience the communication and the responsiveness.
Anyone else? Thank you, Debbie. Okay. Our next report is Success Reimagined in SRVUSD, and that's Dr. Morris.
Thank you, President Hurd. And I just wanted to provide a brief introduction and some information to a document that we have prepared that we will share widely with our community. This document will also be very much a part of our website. And what it intends to do is to capture in one place all of our high-level strategic commitments. Let me start by saying that the reason why we're capturing the high-level strategic commitments is because underneath all of these things are very specific actions and very specific commitments and such. That was not the intention of this particular document. We are invited to speak at all kinds of community events, as are you. We are invited to participate in many activities where people want to know more about us. And because we have spent the last 3 years really thinking deeply about who are we in SRVUSD, what do our students need, where are we headed, why are we headed there, what commitments are we making, and how are we going to know we've improved? That's what this particular document intends. So to the extent that you can see that we speak about Success Reimagined throughout, I apologize that the screen up there won't allow you to necessarily see what our graphic looks like. This particular poster is now framed and in all of our schools and offices, and it basically communicates who we are. And I'm not going to repeat it because Debbie shared it, but I really want us to continue to emphasize broadening the definition of success, foundation of academic excellence that is always here so kids can thrive. And everything that we have spoken about is in this particular document. Now, let me clarify that you're going to say, but last year, didn't we have a different document depicting some of this? And the answer is yes. I shared with you when we started the strategic directions process that we are not a static organization. When we do the work, when we deepen the work, when we learn new things about what is required, we evolve. This isn't like we do something in a 5-year span, put it in a laminate cover, put it on the wall, and wait 5 years to look at it again. So you're seeing a different iteration, though everything that was there last year is here with more information. In this case, it's the learner profile that is the newest piece to the puzzle. If you can turn the slide, and there is the learner profile that Debbie spoke about that I won't repeat. If we can turn the slide. Now, in this document, we walk through everything that I've just shared, and then the framing is, how do we make this vision a reality? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? That's what you'll find here. So for example, deep learning and innovation. Why are we doing it? We want kids to own their learning. We want them to find purpose and meaning. We want them to find joy in their education, and we want them to excel beyond us, which means they better be great learners because their lives are going to change more than ours ever did and will. And that's why that's our focus. When we look at social emotional well-being, what are we doing? We need our kids to feel connected, that sense of belonging, that sense of self. Why? Because when kids feel healthy and well, they can do the kind of learning that's deep and critical and creative. They can collaborate because they know who they are, they understand themselves in a community, and they can demonstrate empathy and compassion, which again, regardless of what our community's desires are for their kids, no matter what you might put into a Google search engine, things like teamwork, communication, empathy, and compassion rise to the top. When you talk about equity, which is, again, what are we doing? We want to be sure that student voice has a central place. We want to be sure that we remove inequities, we remove barriers, we close gaps. So what does that mean? Every one of our 30,000 kids is unique and special. We've said in here and everywhere that they need to be safe, cared for, respected, and included, or they will not succeed. And it's our job to make that happen. It's about access to the programs and learning environments that will help all of our kids be successful. Shared leadership. What are we doing? Through trust, collegiality, and a sense of shared responsibility, we can do anything. Christine Opperman and Bollinger's example tonight is a very, important one. And I just was there 2 weeks ago. No one in that school does anything alone. Everybody is each other's room. They know all the kids. And they have programming, as all of our schools do, I believe, that show what shared leadership truly means. And why is it important? Because when there is diversity of thought, when there is norms for collaboration to work through that diversity of thought, we get to a better place. Without that, across our community, our country, our world, we know what happens. When we look at the culture of responsiveness, I won't repeat it because you know what we're doing and why. And when you look at our stewardship of resources, this is a challenging one for us because we have to maximize finite resources. It's a challenge for us to meet all of the needs with the dollars that we receive from state and the federal government. And we will continue to discuss more about that. On the back cover, we outline something that we do need to spend more time speaking about. And some of you have raised this with me. We have been named a National Lighthouse District for a couple of reasons. One, because we are a learning organization. Two, we're not afraid to tackle new and difficult things. The conversations we're having right now, for example, is what does AI mean for us? And how do we incorporate that, not run away from it? Because truthfully, as some of us who are of a certain age, we tried to run away from calculators at one time, and that didn't do very much for us. And we know that. So this whole notion of running away from that which is and that which will be makes no sense. So we are known as an organization that leans in. And for that, we also have been affirmed for our willing to name what isn't working while we're growing. And we've been able to be affirmed for really showing how things like our MTSS process, which you heard about tonight, our commitment to ensuring that we are broadening the definition of success while keeping students academically strong. These are tough areas, mountains in some ways to climb. But because we're part of this kind of body of lighthouse districts, it also gives us access to the best thinking, and I will say globally, not just locally, because when we are, and thankfully everything for the most part is virtual, this connection teaches us how to think about learning, how to think about our students, how to think about supporting our staff. So this document is not anything new. There's no new insights or perspectives that you haven't already seen in a number of places. It attempts to take everything that we have been and are committed to being and putting it in a place and in a format that we can share widely. This happens to be a paper copy. We have some other paper copies on the back table. We will do some printing because some people really do love to have their copy, but we also will ensure that there is a prominent place on our website for this. I'm open for any questions or comments.
I think it was really important that our community understand about the National Lighthouse District. We haven't talked about it a lot, and I don't think a lot of people know what it is. But on the back of this, it really defines what it's about. And I just want to read it to the audience. SRVUSD was designated as a National Lighthouse District by the American Association of School Administrators. This means we have been recognized as an educational system that is committed to attending to the social, emotional, mental health, and trauma-based needs of all learners, as well as their academic achievement and cognitive growth. We're one of the few districts in the United States that has this designation. And I guess I'm just very proud of that and very proud of the work that you have brought to us, Dr. Malloy, and the expertise and the experience that we are able to be a part of this. Because as you said, it's the cutting edge of education. And as many of us learned in the administrative retreat that we were in, when all the employers from all of these different areas of business and healthcare, all of the traits that they talked about that they want in the employees they're going to hire in the future are covered in our learner profile and in our strategic directions. So it makes me know that not only that we're on the right track to prepare our students for the work they're going to do as they move on from here, and that they're going to be well prepared. So thank you for that.
And thank you for highlighting that. We will place this on our website too. The kind of foundational piece for the Lighthouse District is future focused while we support students today. That's kind of the foundational piece. And there is a white paper that was created by about 50 thinkers in the United States regarding where public education needs to go. And we are seen as aligning with those principles. And that's where this came from.
No, I want to say, I love this, not only the paper form, but the whole digital. No, because this is actually our identity, right? This is, like you said, who we are. And I think in the past, when we were asked, who are we kind of come up with, just maybe the general information data. So we're, in the San Ramon Valley with, 30,000 students. I mean, that very shallow, right? As we go deep, this is like our vision, our mission, our philosophy. I mean, that tells people who we are and what we want to do with our student and staff and community. So really thank you for that.
Yeah, and I just want to say I really appreciate the work because you're continuing to peel back the layers of the onion to go deeper on what success reimagined looks like. And I get it like from a parent perspective too. You can just hear that, well, what does success reimagined mean? And you've done a great job just continuing to provide more detail on this is what it looks like. This is why we're doing it. This is why we feel like it's helpful. And that brings more people on board, parents, staff, everybody, the community, so that we can go, yeah, we can get behind that once we understand kind of what success reimagined looks like. And I think that kind of the key tenets that you always hit on every single time you bring that up, it's the foundation of academic success and plus. So thank you.
And I will add that a request we'll be making to all of our schools and to all of our departments is to share with us about 5 examples of something that's very foundational and systemic going on in their school, like Christine did tonight, that aligns with this direction that we can follow over time, tell stories, create some short videos, connect schools who are working on that same thing to make this come to life. Because even the words on the page, as much as I'm excited about them, and I know that I probably have them so internalized that I sound like the broken record, but if people can see it, and then we can hear from students regarding its impact, I don't know of anything that's more powerful. Our students' voices are what is driving so much of what we're trying to do. And we've seen that in here. We've seen that in our schools. We're elevating student voice to the highest place possible so that we are able to hear and respond. So that's one thing I wanted to share. The other thing I wanted to share, because normally at this time, we would bring our report to the community. This is part of it, but this isn't actually it. Since our data regarding CAS will be coming out this month, we'll bring it next month's meeting. Our California Healthy Kids, we've got it. We're going to bring it in November. We will create our annual report to the community every January so that we can bring the dashboard in. We can look at all the commitments we've made. We will look to see how we align with those commitments based upon the actual data. And then we will inform our planning and our work plans from that. So it's got to be a January thing as opposed to a September thing because we don't have the data yet. So it didn't make sense to be talking about the report to the community. Before we had the dashboard, we could talk about things in September. But now that we have a dashboard that aligns with data collection, like tonight, we have the data so we could do it. We need the data to have the same kind of discussion with all the other commitments that we've made.
And I just wanted to speak to some of the amazing work that the district is doing in involving student voice with our steering committees, which are directly aligned with the strategic directives. And in terms of getting this information out to the public, I really do hope this is going through channels that reach students as well, so that they know these are the expectations that the district has, that the board has, and that they can start looking for that in their own educational experience and reflect on it and identify areas that are working and identify areas that maybe need more upliftment or they'd like to see improvement on. And then they have avenues to bring those insights to the district.
Yeah, and I want to be sure and thank Alana Samuels and her team for putting this together and all the communication around this, because it is very valuable. I think that, you know, we've been through the process of creating the strategic directions. We're doing the work. And in that work, there's at times frustration, there's at times some uncomfortableness, there's, you know, change can be difficult. And ensuring that our community and everyone involved in our strategic directions has an understanding of the why, the what, and where we want to go, the goals, kind of helps all of us to have, you know, to have a North Star, to have something to hold on to when we're riding the wave of uncomfortableness that happens in this journey of making our district excel, creating a space for each and every student, and all of the things that we're doing with the strategic direction. So I appreciate everyone that has done everything to make it important for us. So thank you.
Okay, shall we move on? Next item is 10.5, public comment for non-agendized items. We do have 10 cards. So I want to start out by explaining that public comment for non-agendized items, actually public comment altogether, has a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker that has been established and will be enforced. President reserves the right to announce a last call for speaker submissions. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that tonight. During the non-agendized public comment, the board cannot respond to comments about topics that are not on the agenda. Please be aware that we may interrupt and redirect you to the correct time to speak if your comment relates to an item that is on the agenda, or if it's an item or you're speaking to a topic that's not within our jurisdiction. Also want to add that the views expressed during public comment are those of the individual speaker. The absence of a response from the board or district staff does not imply agreement. The district believes in an inclusive, welcoming, and safe environment for its meetings for all of our community. The board respects each individual's rights to express ideas and opinions. And while the board cannot prohibit public criticism of the board or the district, pursuant to applicable law and board policy, we kindly ask that when making public comments, you refrain from the use of profanity, exercise tolerance of others and their viewpoints, and exemplify model behavior. Please be mindful that students may be watching. You are encouraged to address the board and the public in a respectful manner, such that all those observing, from children to adults, are made to feel welcome, safe, and respected. The board will not permit disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings. Persistent or excessive disruption by an individual or a group shall be grounds to terminate the privilege of addressing the board. We have never had to take it to anything like that. I do want to add just sort of some explicit examples of what we consider acceptable civil behavior. If you like what a speaker said, when they're finished talking, you may applaud for a reasonable amount of time. But I think it kind of goes without saying, but because it came up before, booing is not acceptable in our boardroom. And if you boo, I will cut you off. But you know, in many public meetings, they don't even allow you to applaud. But I think given that we're sort of school environment, we're used to, you know, saying I agree, good job, or, you know, whatever. And that's how you can show that you agree with someone after they're done speaking. And the only kinds of behavior that I will interrupt are when you're vocally doing something. If you are sitting in your seat, making a sour face, that's up to you. We can see you, everybody else cannot. And so we'll let that go. Okay, so with that, I want to take the first card, and it is for TJ. And we do have 10 cards. And after TJ, we will have Moms for Liberty. So TJ, come on up.
Hello again. Well, first of all, I would like to appreciate this meeting. You know, it's presenting goals to produce educated, prepare for the future, kind, critical thinkers, and students able to apply information effectively. So, I mean, of course, as a parent, that's what you want. You want help with that. So I greatly appreciate that. Then just basically Well, I did ask permission, but I didn't get a grant. So I just want to say I appreciate the work that Christy Glazier was trying to do. You know, we love her. We've always, for the last 3 years, we've always communicated with her and everything like that. It's just, as a former educator and multi-socialization and research and different things like that, that I know, I understand what is being taught as far as education and the information that is presented. However, as far as the American educational system, I know where it is trying to go, which is not a good place. The higher you go in some areas, the harder we will fall. So that's just a warning. I'm usually one of the last or the last warning to a lot of places. So, but I do appreciate, you know, the goals that are being said. We just need to make sure we're working together to achieve those goals, because of course, without parents' support and educating their kids at home before we send them out, that's how we can become anti-bullying, you know, teaching your children at home as well, and working together with the teachers and with the school to say, hey, let me know if my child is a problem. Let me know if my child is doing good. Let me know if my child is in between. Let me know so that I can talk to them, talk to everybody else that is involved, so that we can work together, so that we can have the successful children that all parents want. We want successful children. I have a 5-year-old now, successful tweens. We want successful teens. And of course, we want successful adults. And to be a product of a school system and things like that, to show that forth is what we all want, I hope. So thank you for your time, and thank you for the work that you are doing and your goals. We just want to make sure we get to the goals that we are presenting. Thank you.
Microphone. Moms for Liberty next, and then Bob Allen following that.
Evening. I'd like to start off by thanking the board for addressing the issue that happened with the equity studies teacher who taught in the choir class at SRV last week. As a parent of a choir student, having outside instruction regarding white privilege with the choir students was incredibly hurtful, demeaning to many students in the class. It not only created division and confusion between the students, but it was also incorrect information. During the teacher's discussion with the class, he stated that white people had no culture and any culture that they did have was stolen. He gave inaccurate information that the students could quickly Google and figure out that was wrong. So for the record, the #1 condiment is not salsa, which he claimed was stolen, it is mayonnaise. And the #1 American dish is not chicken tikka masala, which he claimed again that the white stole, it is hamburgers. However, again, I would like to thank the district for taking action and investigating the situation in an appropriate time manner and taking the measures to rectify it. We do appreciate that. With that said, this is another reason that we are here asking for the board's help with parental transparency and communication. It is apparent that there are things that are being taught to our children where the district or the school does not provide a necessary opt-in or opt-out form for parents. Many may not agree with what you are teaching, but ironically, for my senior, I had to opt in to receive all of her emails. All of the senior class emails I had to opt in, but there is not an opt-in or an opt-out form for these other teachings. It's backwards. Contrary to the culture of responsiveness that I heard about earlier, I have personally emailed Dr. Malloy multiple times and I have not heard back. The last meeting I addressed this during the public comment, and even after a follow-up email, You've not stood up to the culture of responsiveness that the SRV strategic direction described here tonight. Though you've got some people out in the community that are scared of us based on inaccurate and very biased news articles, we are not here trying to ban books, spread hate, or exclude anyone. We are here actually trying to include everyone, get parental transparency and community so you can partner with your parents as you truly say you do. Shelley, during your presentation, you asked what could be done to find parents that will participate. My suggestion is communication. Our parents are asking for opt-out forms or opt-in forms for younger students, for Prism clubs, controversial read alouds, changing closets, and guest speakers. We are simply asking to be notified if books are checked out of the library that the parents may not agree with. We have resolutions to the problems, and I guarantee if you take the time to sit down with me and other parents that I'm working with, that your board meetings are going to be a lot shorter. You won't have as much of this.
Okay, Bob's coming up, and after Bob will be Lorinda Ocha.
Hello, teachers of the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, 97% of whom are members of the San Ramon Valley Education Association, are charged with making SRVUSD schools inviting, caring, nurturing, and safe environments for all students on top of teaching academic subjects. Board Policy 5145.3 states, quote, "A student's transgender or gender nonconforming status is the student's private information, and the district will only disclose this information to others with the student's prior written consent, except when the disclosure is otherwise required by law or when the district has compelling evidence that disclosure is necessary to preserve the student's physical or mental well-being." Additionally, quote, "Given the student's need for support, the district official may discuss with the student any need to disclose student's transgender or gender nonconformity status or gender identity or gender expression to the student's parents or guardians and or others, including other students, teachers, or other adults on campus. The district shall offer support services such as counseling to students who wish to inform their parents and guardians of their status and desire assistance in doing so. The California School Board Association, the California State Department of Education, and other bodies have similar interpretations of the laws affecting these issues. Some members of our community will imply and infer that district staff do more than the policy. This is patently untrue. If one reads the policies, the schools do two things: counsel students and protect their privacy, period. Other school districts that have chosen other policies are being sued, or those policies are enjoined. These districts represent a grand total of 0.5% of all California districts, and these policies will make their way through the courts to determine their validity as our form of government demands. I would not want to be on the school board who has one of these policies of the currently 6 districts in California, where they inform the parents or the caregivers and that child is injured or worse. Historically, schools have transferred their culture of their community as well as teaching academics. Those who say otherwise have not studied their history. So again, which community do you want San Ramon Valley Unified School District to be? Do you want a community that others children, or do you want a community who welcomes all to their schools? Thank you.
After Lorinda will be Day.
Good evening, and congratulations on being a National Lighthouse District. I am a 30-year resident. I'm a grandmother of kids at San Ramon, and I've been a parent and a volunteer. Tonight, though, I'm speaking on behalf, again, of the Danville, Alamo, Walnut Creek American Association of University Women. Nationally, AAUW has over 170,000 members. In California, we have 118 branches and over 11,500 members. We are a nonpartisan organization, and our members are from all political parties, all races, and all ethnic backgrounds. Our members are from all religious traditions and from no religious affiliation. Recently, our state members voted on our top public policy priorities, which include working towards economic security for all women, social and racial justice for all members of society, and increased representation of women in leadership roles. We all agreed that these three goals are impossible unless we focus on our fourth goal, which is advocating for equal access to quality public education. 2 weeks ago, we attended our annual leadership conference where we voted to make the protection of quality public education our state's highest priority. We have defined what we mean by public education, by quality public education. And this evening, I want to mention just one of those criteria. Quality public education includes access to diverse staff and access to diverse curriculum that represents historically accurate information. Last month, our state leadership wrote a letter of support for AB 1078, which is now awaiting the governor's signature. This bill would strengthen the rights of all students to receive a comprehensive and inclusive education without fear of religious and political censorship. AB 1078 protects public education by restricting the ability of local school boards to ban books and to censor what our students learn. As grandparents, as parents, as residents, and as AUW members, we're all extremely concerned about the efforts of extremists to ban public school library books, to censor curriculum and text, and to attack the rights of all staff and all students to gender identity equity. AAUW is paying attention to attacks on public education, and we will continue to stand up for quality public education for all students. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Malloy, and district staff. My name is Zui Dang. Public education is so much more than books and grades. Each student is a unique person with untapped potential waiting to be developed. We understand that it's a long and complex process to get a child ready to fully participate in the mission of life. My wife and I have been residents of Danville for nearly 35 years. Our daughter was born and grew up in this town. She's a proud product of the district. After high school, Madeline attended UCSB, then law school in the East Coast. Now she's a counsel in the United States Senate. The district was instrumental in laying the foundation for our daughter to develop her full potentials holistically, setting her on a path to achieve her dreams. Her group of friends from John Baldwin, Charlotte Wood, San Ramon Valley High became key contributors in nearly every aspect of our society. I would like to acknowledge and applaud the district's whole person approach in enabling every student, regardless of their family background and status, to reach the full potentials, to reach for the stars. We no longer have a child in the district, but we care about the future of our town and our society. We are counting on each of you to uphold your commitment and leadership in the development of our next generations of leaders, to enable each of them to be successful at whatever they choose to do and to be responsible, productive members of society. You have our utmost respect, appreciation, and support. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Charlotte Grazer, and after Charlotte will be Dan Frank.
Evening, I'll make this really short. I titled this How to Retain Staff, but basically my youngest is autistic. He went to Country Club Elementary School back when he was much younger. He's 16 now. His behavior was a huge problem for his learning and the learning of his classmates. But his principal, Christy Glazer, never gave up on him and spent her own money to buy him a trampoline for the classroom so he could get his wings up. Eventually, my son transferred to another school. So when I heard, after all the abuse that Christy Glazer has been through, no support, when I learned she was leaving, I became enraged. No support for her from admin and even some of her own staff in her own school. I know they didn't fire her. Everyone's corrected me that she's not fired. She left of her own will, but she was slow walked out, and I'm sure they are now relieved. They don't have another problem. Another reason I'm upset is because I am bisexual, and our opposition, small, vocal, vastly uninformed crowd that consistently throw tantrums in our community, always claim elementary kids don't know they are gay. I knew I was different in kindergarten, and I would have loved to have Christy Glazer as my principal. She's the teachers we need. Don't need to chase them away.
So Dan Frank, and after Dan will be Faye Isaacson.
Good evening. Moms for Liberty is a hate group. It's classified by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which has been tracking racist and extremist groups for over 50 years. They join the ignominious ranks of bigots alongside the KKK, Proud Boys, and the Aryan Nation. They attempt to couch themselves as a parent in a veneer of grassroots parents' rights group. In fact, they are an AstroTurf organization funded by Charles Cole, Rebecca Mercer, Leonard Leo, and the Heritage Foundation, in addition to a plethora of alphabet soup dark on the front groups. These are also the organizations and people attempt to out and hurt vulnerable LGBTQ students even here in San Ramon. The good news is we in California are governed by the Education Code, which guarantees the safety and security of our students. Section 200 of the Education Code is very clear that students, regardless of gender expression, are protected from hate and bullying at school. California Penal Code 422.55 governs these student protections as well. It states that it's a hate crime to out students based on their sexual lifestyle, orientation, and in addition, AB 1078 will be passed shortly. Governor Newsom can track any censorship of books or curriculum resources that state law has to be approved in school libraries. My family and I have lived in San Ramon for over 20 years. My wife has been an elementary school teacher in SRVUSD for 23 years and is the prison club advisor for her elementary school in the district. Our 3 children have all been educated in standing schools in San Ramon. 2 of them are on 4 universities, and our youngest student is a senior in high school. This is a very safe educational environment. We must be vigilant about safety and security of LGBTQ+ students. And this needs to be a very high priority for this board, district administration, principals, vice principals, and teachers. One of our child is now attending the top 20 universities in this country and has had an excellent experience as an LGBTQ+ student here in San Ramon district. Very confident the safety and security of LGBTQ+ students can be effectively maintained in this district. Lastly, please make sure to maintain the safety of principals, vice principals, as they do not have strong union representation that teachers enjoy. Moms for Liberty can and will exploit the fact they do not have the same levels of protections that teachers have. Thank you.
After Faye will be Kate.
Oh, I want to commend the school district, all the teachers, counselors, admin and staff for everything they do to support LGBTQ students and promote equity for all. My husband and I have a son that graduated from San Ramon High in 2015. He came out to just the two of us as a middle school student at Charlottewood in 2009. That was 14 years ago, really before much was in place for supporting transgender students. We immediately joined the Danville San Ramon Valley PFLAG chapter to receive support. And we wondered if we should rent a home in Berkeley for our son to attend high school there or have him attend a local private school. But our son really wanted to attend San Ramon High. Our son did not come out to others before high school. So about 2 weeks before our son started freshman year in 2011, my husband and I met with the principal and our son's counselor to discuss how best to support this young transgender boy who would be their first and only openly transgender student all 4 years. As I said, back then things were different than today. Our son used the bathroom in the nurse's office. We had to go to court to change his legal name so his name appeared correctly on the class roster. Happily, the school had a GSA club. The school, teachers, admin, and staff did a great job supporting our son and nipping any bullying in the bud. I'm a PFLAG mom and now serve on the chapter PFLAG board to help support others. PFLAG works closely with the school district, and from my vantage point, through all the ensuing years from back then up to the present, I've watched how the school district has advanced in supporting their LGBTQ students and staff. I'm very proud of the school district. They do an excellent job, and I commend them. Thank you.
Kate. And after Kate will be Shannon, and Shannon will be the last one.
I'm a parent and a graduate of San Ramon Valley School District. I represent one of the many parents that support a challenging and comprehensive education our children will need to navigate and succeed in confidence. I am really saddened to see some of the hate in our community. I attended last month's board meeting with a friend of mine, fellow elementary school mom. We were concerned because one of the teachers at our school who normally helps advise kids who need help under the guise of the Prison Club advisor recently said that she would no longer be offering that program at our elementary school because she didn't think it was worth it to get shot. So I attended last month's meeting. We sat in the back and we were just appalled by some of the hate that's going on in that very room and in this very room tonight. We had adults out in the hallway who were heckling the students that were brave enough to come and speak. This is hard enough. This is scary enough. And I know you have to listen to everybody and you can sort through the comments cards to make sure that everybody is represented, but please don't mistake that for a 50-50 split of good people on both sides. Let's look at the actions of these people that claim they care about saving children. There are adults in this community who are outing children without their permission. They're putting students and educators' names on flyers and posters to be doxxed. They're putting people's safety at risk. We've heard the pain in our community from seeing swastikas carved into desks, and it saddens me that that is still going on when I was a student in this now. And there are some adults who are partnering with the violent extremists responsible for hanging anti-Semitic flags off our freeways. They're holding rallies at parks across from synagogues and refusing to denounce Hitler. How much of a softball is it to be asked to denounce Hitler and not be able to say we denounce Hitler? So I'm going to pitch you guys a softball. Respectfully, I ask you, board, to repudiate these groups who have shown through their own words and their own actions that they do not care about the safety of our students in our community. No matter what Orwellian name they give themselves, whether it's Moms for Liberty, Informed Parents, East Bay Educators, they are not here in good faith and only serve to divide and harass people. They may say, talk to us, but I don't feel safe talking to them. People's lives are not up for debate. Life is rough and hard enough without it, and it's a lot shorter than we even know. So let's build each other up. Let's explore this vast world around us. Let's read books. And if you're lucky enough to still have kids, hug them and love them for who they are. Thank you.
My name is Shannon, and I grew up in this area. I attended private school from kindergarten through high school. And I now have 2 children that attend school here. I was also a special ed teacher, and I actually helped develop the program at Bollinger Elementary for special ed. So it was fun seeing my group here, and I love seeing the progress that it's making. My husband and I, when we decided to have children and we were talking about where we wanted to send them, we chose a public school. We chose a public school because we wanted them to see diversity. Neither one of us grew up seeing diversity because we both went to private schools. We didn't see special ed. It was not represented. We chose for them to see that other people have different beliefs, different religions, they learn differently, and they love differently, and that they need to be accepted. I was going to talk a lot longer about this, but I feel compelled to talk a little bit more and change the negative narrative that has been going on. I am tired of hearing the negative narrative around teachers and our schools because I have not seen that at all. It is not what represents what we have seen at our schools. The education and support that my children have received has been amazing. A couple years ago, my son broke his femur and was in the hospital for 5 days, missed a lot of school. And immediately the teachers reached out to us. The principal reached out to us and developed a plan so that he could come back and not miss a lot of school and catch him up. But not only did his teacher reach out to us, but our younger son's teacher reached out to us to ensure that he was able to receive the emotional support that he needed as well. We work together as a family unit. I'm tired of hearing that we are not a family unit. Sorry. When my son went back to school in a wheelchair for 6 weeks, the principal reached out to us. The school staff reached out to us. Our crossing guard reached out to us. The PE teacher reached out to us, and we developed an amazing plan for him to be able to get around school. So I have not seen the negativity. They have been nothing but supportive. A year later, my son was diagnosed with ADHD and with dyslexia. We all worked together on his IEP. We came up with a best plan that would support him. They reached out to us again, asking what worked at home and what didn't work at home. And we worked out what was going to be best for him. Sorry. The teachers did this. Oh, sorry, I'm out of time. The teachers are professionals. They've all been to school to be trained in how to best support our students. And it's time we start treating them like professionals, because they have had an environment. They've had a very welcoming and inclusive environment, and they deserve raises.
Okay, that concludes public comment. Thank you to all our speakers. Now we're going to go to association presidents reports. Tammy Castelluccio, there you go.
Good evening. I am Tammy Castelluccio, president of CSEA. CSEA represents a little over 1,000 classified employees in the district. Thank you for the time to speak tonight. We're working on signing and getting 610 approval for our health benefits MOU, and we will be ratifying the MOU very soon. We had our first negotiations meeting with the district this past Friday to discuss our reclassification approvals for last year. We meet again this Friday, and we are hopeful it will all be finalized. And CSEA would like to extend their condolences to the family of Lucio Morgan. Lucio worked as the district Braille interpreter as well as a paraeducator. She's been a longtime SRVU employee. I had the pleasure of working with Lucia. She was an amazing woman and an amazing employee. She worked very hard every day to support all of the students she worked with, and she will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. And Laura Finco, representing San Ramon Valley Educators Association, Education Association.
Good evening. First of all, I want to congratulate and thank the youth that were honored this evening. Very proud of them, as I'm sure their parents are very proud. Not to mention, we as adults can learn a thing or two from the work that they're doing. It's absolutely inspiring. And on an aside, Teresa Butler Dorn has been a friend and colleague of mine at Stone Valley Middle School, and Stone Valley Science rocks basically forever. And I'm very proud. To say that I'm very proud is not even touching the enormous respect and awe that I have. The opportunities that she's going to be bringing back will change us for the better. Little wicked thing in there. I would like to begin this evening by acknowledging the Ohlone Nation and the Takan tribe whose ancestral lands we are on today. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between the nations and to improve our own understanding of local Indigenous people and their cultures. The Ohlone Nation has remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as elders have taught the young through generations. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge First Nation families and communities and to consider how we are and can each in our own way try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. My name is Laura Finco. I'm the president of the San Ramon Valley Education Association and the over 1,700 non-managerial certificated personnel in this district. Last board meeting, Trustee Vences pointed out the fact that each meeting I begin my remarks with a land acknowledgement. I'm hoping that he, as well as others, might have noticed I changed up what I usually say. The reason being is I don't want these statements to be just performative. The words should not just go in one ear and out the other. The words need to have meaning. One way we can achieve that is to realize that the privilege we have in our opportunity to live wherever we live and acknowledge and honor the people that came before us. I share the land acknowledgement at each board meeting for a number of reasons, some personal. For one, it grounds me. It reminds me of my ancestry and that no matter where I am, I do not stand alone. I share the land acknowledgement because if not me, then who? I share the land acknowledgement because it matters that we recognize First Nation communities and we acknowledge the diversity that we have in our own community. I've said this before, our students do not come in homogeneous little packages. They deserve to see themselves in our curriculum. They deserve to know their history matters. They deserve to have their dreams become reality and have the support and guidance of those who share the journey with them. I acknowledge that for some topics of diversity are uncomfortable. It was always hard for my family to talk about the effects of residential schools and the colonialism on Indigenous families and communities. My mother and my aunt growing up at the Stewart Indian School. But eliminating the exposure to sensitive and sometimes uncomfortable topics is just taking one step towards erasure. The residential schools attempted to do just that, erase First Nation culture by isolating Indigenous children, banning their use of the native language, and restricting access to their history and their culture. This is not different from the cultural discourse that we're experiencing even now and even here. Erasing that which we find uncomfortable. As educators, we have an obligation to our students to ensure that they are not erased. Sometimes this means we must tackle that which is uncomfortable for some. My hope is that as a community, our families have the strength and love and support within their homes to have the conversations that must be had when things are uncomfortable. That they do their parts as caregivers while supporting our educators who also must do our part. I hope that families can embrace the responsibility that educators have to every child and acknowledge the importance of academic freedom in ensuring we teach all of our children. I recently read a post on social media that got derailed because of the use of the word caregiver. It's unfortunate that the first comments and then subsequent comments on other social media pages headed completely into the negativity right off the start. Sort of made the point that the original poster felt that they needed to remain anonymous, was they had to be attacked. There's the attack first. How much different that conversation would be if we provided each other a little respect to discuss the concerns instead of delving right into the discourse. I'd like to close my remarks this evening, sort of how I open them. I'd like to share a little bit of a legend credited to the Cherokee Nation. An old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It is a terrible fight, and it's between two wolves. One is evil. He is angry, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, infertility, inferiority, Freudian slip, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside of you as it's going on inside each and every other person. The grandson thought about this for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Grandfather, which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." Thank you.
Hey, next is our student board member, Anya.
So Student Senate met yesterday. They were given a lot of time to work on their specific subcommittee groups and kind of start working on their projects. So there'll be surveys going out on, how students, can identify channels that really work for them to gain feedback and receive insight from both Student Senate and also just provide their own feedback so that we can use that to, better craft projects that are tailored to student needs. So Tara and I were able to talk about inviting district staff and board members to our future meetings. And I wanted to thank Dr. Nguyen for sending out invitations for that. So we're looking forward to having students kind of interact with district administration and gain their insights, which will help them shape their projects. I've also been able to meet with a lot of student board members from other districts and begin learning about the ways that they're listening to diverse students and maybe adopting some of their methods and also sharing some of the ways that we've been successful in our district about incorporating student voice. I had many reach out because they wanted to create a similar student advisor group to Student Senate. And I think that just really reflects on kind of the comprehensive program we've been able to create. And it's just been really successful in welcoming diverse perspectives. And I've also learned about, students in other districts who are actually able to visit school sites and kind of gain insights that way, as well as offer kind of student office hours. So I'm really looking forward to kind of exploring those ideas in the future, especially as we look to amplify student voice.
Thank you. And now superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Hurd, and I'll be brief just because I had a lot of opportunities earlier. There's just a couple of thoughts I want to raise with you and with our community who are listening. We are continuing to work through in our district and in every district that I know of across the country, challenges around staffing and staffing shortages. It is certainly something that our team led by Melanie Jones has really focused upon. We are through again some of the national conversations I spoke about earlier, some state level discussions as well. We are putting ourselves in the middle of a lot of opportunities to learn about different paradigms to create a more sustainable future, because the teacher staff member pipeline, if I can use that term, is not where it needs to be. And so we know we have a problem. And any class that's not covered is one that is not acceptable. Having said that, we also know that when our teachers or our staff members need to be away, maternity leaves, personal leaves and such, that's another element to this. Some of what we've learned already is that culture does matter. Culture that we create from the district level, culture that exists in school communities. And again, this is documented. It's not just my own opinion, where we've created that real sense of collaboration that we keep talking about, that shared leadership where we continue to speak about parents, caregivers, students, staff, district admin, et cetera. That type of dynamic is what does support our staff to want to be here. And I think that to the extent that we can do this work locally, as well as at the district level, this will continue to be a district where staff want to be. Any class, as I said, that's not covered is problematic. Some of our colleagues across this state and beyond are in much more serious situations than we are, but that doesn't make any class, as I said, not covered any less challenging. So we're focused on it. We're working hard with our union colleagues to work through it. We're looking at outside the box ideas with some really important thinkers, if I can use that term, across the country and beyond, and we'll keep you posted. The other comment I wanted to make as I think about all of the different perspectives that exist in our community is I want our community to know from a cabinet perspective, and I would like you as board to know this, even though I think you do. As much as it may sometimes appear that we are not listening, I want everyone to know that we do actually lean into everything we hear, even when it's hard to hear it. But we hold on to the guiding principles that you have directed us to hold on to. What that means is there's not enough time in a day, in a week, in a year to navigate all of the different perspectives that want to be heard. We've got to figure out forums like this and others to make that happen. But we do try to figure out, is there something in what we're hearing that needs to be considered? As we listen to the different views, is there something that will actually help bring us more together than not? Language matters. And I would suggest that too often we use language that doesn't do that. That's the collective we. I'm not speaking about anybody individually. But I said it before when we were talking about culture of responsiveness, and it's something that I, as the leader of cabinet working with you, I have not solved this. Open to your advice and the community's advice over time. But sometimes it may appear simple when someone has strong views about what should take place that we just do it. But what's missing is how many other perspectives we also know. And we can't lead like that. So what do? And you hear it over and over: safe, cared for, respected, and included. But that means that we can't do everything that everybody wants to hold on to that. We're hearing about worries that when we talk about trying to improve math, which we have some work to do, there's no doubt, or when we think about deep learning, where we want our kids to really, really think and create, when we're talking about assessment or grading, where what that grade is truly reflects what that student can know and understand, we're hearing worry that that doesn't feel or sound like what school used to be. But then we heard from that panel in the summer that our kids have to be different to be okay. And there's a disconnect there. And we keep trying to communicate and try to engage. But it was said tonight, and I want to say it loudly, Our teachers, our staff members, certificated and classified, are brilliant professionals and need to be supported. Our administration does unbelievable work. The district staff, we wear a lot. I have to admit, more than I've ever experienced, but I need a shout out for them too. And our parents, our partners too. This has got to be an and. There's way too many ors, not ands, when we're having this discussion. So what I wanted to share with you is I don't personally in this seat have the answer. We don't have the answer. Probably the wisdom is collectively in rooms like this and other places, but we just got to keep talking because it's not simple. And just know that as a cabinet working with you, I appreciate your leadership and your direction and your advice so that we can continue to serve our students effectively. So thank you so much.
Okay, so that got us through all our reports. Now we have some action items and public hearings and not too many. And then an information item, and then we'll be done. Well, administrative reports too. Okay, so the first one is consideration of adoption of resolution 39 for this school year, approval of provisional internship permits, PIPs requests. Melanie.
Good evening again. This has become a standing item. So as a reminder, the provisional intern permit actually provides teacher credential candidates additional time to meet their subject matter competence in order to enter into an internship program. And this month we have 3 individuals that are coming forward who are qualified for a provisional intern permit and allow them to continue their work to meet their competency and also work for us in the classroom and provide support to students while they do it.
Do you have a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution for PIP.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Ordway and seconded by Board Member Clark. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next thing is a public hearing for sufficiency of public textbook and instructional materials for grades K through 12. This is a public hearing, so I have to actually gavel in, open the public hearing. Do we have any comments on this? This is an annual have to do kind of thing. We don't have any cards here, so I'm going to close the public hearing. And then in the odd way, you do the public hearing first and then you talk about it, but that's how we do it. Not we, but how the state or how we're told to do it. It's always felt backwards to me. So I think it's Christine, you're going to take it.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, President Hurd. Yes, this is the consideration of the adoption of our resolution that you see attached in the board packet that certifies that each pupil has a textbook, digital textbook, instructional materials, or some combination thereof to use in class and to take home to complete homework assignments and studying. So we are asking the board to adopt our resolution in support of our statement of assurance of sufficiencies of textbooks for the 23-24 school year.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the adoption.
Thank you.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Van Zee. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next we have another public hearing. This one is on the dedication of an easement to Dublin San Ramon Service District for a 15-foot wide fire line easement located on the Bella Vista Elementary School site. I'm going to open the public hearing. We have no cards. I'm going to close the public hearing. And now Stella can tell us about what we're voting on.
Yes, so good evening, trustees. So we have this is a two-step process, actually 3-step process, but 2 meetings. The last meeting, we brought forward a resolution basically to inform you. We're coming back again to talk about the easement, which basically is a resolution that we will support the excavation, installation, construction, reconstruction, repair, and maintenance of a right-of-way ingress and egress. And we won't build any structures on this 15-foot wide fire lane easement. So it's standard practice to do it in this, with this process. And yeah, it's a normal process when you're trying to do this easement.
I have just a simple question. The resolution asks for the board to confirm that this was posted 10 days in advance in 3 places. Can you tell us where the 3 places were?
I don't know where the 3 places were, but I do know that yeah, we had those posted for quite some time.
We have a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the fire lane easement.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, and then the next item, 11.6, is consideration of adoption of resolution number 41 for this school year, establishment of the GAN appropriation limits. And that one is to Stella as well.
Oh, we're just, everybody left. So, Proposition 4, 1979 established a GAN limit. It was approved by voters as a way of keeping state and local government spending capped 1978-79 limits, spending limits, with adjustments. Each year when we do the unaudited actuals, we have to bring this report back to the board. So you're getting ready to hear unaudited actuals. This is just a testament that we have met the GAN limit requirements for this year, and we project that we will for next year as well.
Thank you.
Or for last year and this year.
Thank you. Do we have a motion or first any questions? Okay, motion please.
A motion that we can consider to adopt this resolution for GAN appropriations.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Van Zee and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, now we're on 11.7, consideration of acceptance of the 2023. I think it's supposed to be 22-23, right? Annual financial report, unaudited actuals. And
Yes.
Stella and Evan Miller.
Yes, it is the 22-23 school year. Okay, first I want to just say thank you to Evan and his team for getting us to the place where we have our unaudited actuals. It's closing of the books. And it's a time for us as a school district to look back at the budget that was prepared and submitted to the board. It was in June of 2022. And now at the end of the year, we come back and we say, how did we do? How reliable is the budget that we prepared for the community based on lots of unknowns at the time? I think it was there was a little turbulence, just like this year's budget adoption for the state. And so we're here to share with you our unaudited actuals, and just want to remind the board that we do have auditors that will be coming in to audit our books and audit our budget to verify that we are accurate. So I'm going to hand it over to Evan and thank him for his presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Kemp. Good evening, board members, superintendent, and members of cabinet. I'm happy to be here to present our 22-23 unaudited actuals financial report. And before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the group effort that goes into closing the books each year. Our Director of Accounting and Payroll, Nicole Kugler, and our business manager, Julie Harris, as well as all of the budget analysts for our sites, for ed services, for child nutrition, facilities, special education, all of our accounting staff. It's a big group effort that goes into getting this report ready. Just want to acknowledge everybody's work. A quick review of the agenda. So closing the books on last year, we'll look through our revenues and expenditures in the general fund. We'll do a quick update on the one-time funds that we spend and that we have carried over for the upcoming year. We'll dive into the unrestricted general fund ending balance and the delta between what we presented in June and what we're seeing now, and then look at some next steps. And then just a quick reminder of where we are in the calendar. The unaudited actuals are the one time during the year when we actually see a full year of actuals. Everything else we see is always a budget report. So I just wanted to highlight, this is the one time we see actual real numbers. So just a quick look at our general fund revenues, total revenues of almost $457 million. And then on the expenditures broken out by category, total expenditures of $434 million. Those are then combined with our transfers in and transfers out of the general fund, as well as our contributions. Remember, our contributions are for special education programs, well, primarily special education programs, and also routine restricted maintenance. And so those go from the unrestricted to the restricted general fund. And then the bottom line there, our net increase and decrease for both the unrestricted and the restricted side. And so the headline here is that we ended the year in a better position than we anticipated. We were anticipating a small deficit and we ended up with a small surplus, especially on the unrestricted side. So I think the headline is a slightly more positive position than we were, than we thought we would be in June. We did discuss last month at the 45-day update some of our one-time dollars. So this is just a quick update on where we are with the COVID expenditures, kind of by the category that we spend them in. Last year, we spent nearly $11 million in COVID funds. On these different categories here, we have about 8.4 million available that must be spent by September 2024. And so we are on track to spend those. We anticipate spending them on pretty much the top 5 categories that are listed here. So the bottom 3 we think will drop off in the upcoming year. And then an update on the discretionary block grant that we received last year. We came to the board in the spring with a plan. That's the original budget column. Remember, it was reduced as part of the enacted state budget. So that's the difference between the revenue in the first column and the second column. So we show what we spent of those dollars last year. And then the final column is kind of an updated budget, knowing that we now have that full $16.9 million to work with. There are some savings in the categories that we spent last year, and we basically push those into the instructional material adoption, devices and software purchases that we plan to make using these dollars. And I think we'll continue to come back with updates to this plan as we have them. So at estimated actuals, we projected that we would have a deficit of about $4.5 million in the unrestricted general fund. And then at unaudited actuals, we have a surplus of about $5 million. So $9.5 to $10 million swing. So this is just some of the details behind those differences. On the revenue side, $4.5 million of additional revenue that we didn't anticipate. Some of those are hard to project. Some of them interest, home to school transportation reimbursement. We were just conservative on. And then on the expenditure side, we spent about 5.7 less than we anticipated at estimated actuals. Some of those things like on the retirement, we hire fewer people. We have an unfilled FTE. We also have some, we do it on our total number of FTE, but we know that some of them are less than half-time positions, so they don't qualify for retirement contributions. Textbook adoptions were rolled forward to this year, garbage truck as well, and then materials and other supplies and professional services we underestimated by a small amount. So we put all those things together to come up with our ending fund balance, as well as the assignments at the end of this year. And then rolling forward, I guess little cutoff there. But rolling forward into next year, and so we can see the effect of that delta in the current year fund balance, and then how that affects our projected balance for next year. Again, the headline here is that we're doing slightly better than we thought we were going to in June. And then just some of the other takeaways here. So as I've said a couple times, we're in a better financial position than we projected. We still know that there are a lot of uncertainties out there. You know, we don't know our full revenue picture, or the state doesn't know the full revenue picture for last year. So October 15th, and crunching those numbers afterwards could have an effect on us. The Prop 28 allocations are still unknown. The state has not told us how much we can expect. We do have we have an idea, but the state hasn't officially told us yet. The parcel tax renewal is on the horizon, so we know that's something that we're going to have to continue to consider. And then we still, because of our declining enrollment and COLA environment moving forward, we think that we will still, and the expiration of one-time funds, we will continue to have a process where we discuss prioritizing programs that are currently funded with one-time funds. So all of that will continue in the upcoming year. And I think that is it. Oh, next steps. So we will have we'll continue to review current expenditures for the current year. We have our first interim financial report coming up in December, and then that audited report for last year will come in January. And that is it. So any questions or comments?
No questions, but I want to thank you, Evan, and your team for very clear, actually, because as I was looking through the packet, right, and you know, jotting down maybe some questions and stuff, and then during, you know, while looking at the tables and things like that, and then I go to the explanations. I'm like, oh, okay, that explained that one. So, no, just want to commend you on, yeah, very clear tables, descriptions, explanations. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna ditto that. I just really appreciate it, and all of the reports that you just have a great way of kind of getting down to the point in a way that really helps us to be able to digest the information. So thank you.
Just reading through all the many pages that follow is very numbing, but your tables and your very brief explanations and references to the table are really a joy to read through. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll just say well done to Stella and to your entire team, because I mean, getting when you're projecting out that far in advance and trying to get close to that number, and to see that we did it and we came up even on the positive side. You know, it's a lot of work when you're working with that many dollars. So that's exactly what we need, and making sure that the dollars are being allocated to the right resources. So thank you.
Well, just a real quick add to that, not only right trying to juggle all the numbers and all that stuff, but when the state is throwing in all this unknowns, right? It's that's good. That's stressful.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the unaudited actuals?
I make a motion that we approve the unaudited actuals.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Banzi and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Banzi.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we have one, thank you, Evan. We have one informational item. It is 12.1, first reading of revisions to board policies and administrative regulations related to certification, and family care and medical leave. Melanie.
Good evening. So yes, we're bringing forward to you this evening a first reading of board policy updates to align with the CSBA recommendations. The first of which is for 4112.2, and that's regarding teacher certifications. And it is just basically updating a policy
that we haven't had an opportunity to update in quite some time. So just making sure it's got all of the relevant information with respect to changes that have taken place through the CTC over the last number of years, and making sure that everything that we're doing in terms of our processes and policies align with all of those policies and procedures within the CTC, as well as our collective bargaining agreements and other board policies. The second first reading that we're bringing forward to you is with respect to family care and medical leave. And again, this is just to make sure that we are up to date with all of the state and federal legislative policies that are out there. CSBA does a good job of outlining those, and we just utilize this information to make sure that we're aligned with our collective bargaining agreements, as well as all of the state and federal legislation. A lot of reading there for you. That's why we're bringing it forward as a first reading to you.
So in your opinion, is most of it just updates? It's not really substantive changes?
Correct.
And it's probably obvious, but all the strike throughs mean a complete strike through of those entire pages to be.
Correct, because in some cases there was so many changes and it had been a few years since we've updated it. It was easier just to highlight what the new rather than.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Does anybody have any feedback?
No, I mean, yeah, I think we all read through them and it looked like what we were saying, that a lot of them just look like we're changing some of the verbiage and lingo to update it a little bit. And yeah, I didn't really have anything that came out.
I didn't have anything. Okay, this is just informational where we give feedback and then it comes back for approval at another time. Great, thank you. All right. Okay, we already did all the consent items and we are now on administrative matters. And we can start with Anya, although you already gave a report. So do you want to add anything else? Okay, you're good. Okay, so Jesse, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll just say one update that I was able to do actually this morning is I was able to go over to Monte Vista and visit with the students over there with Contra Costa County Board of Education member Mike Maxwell. And so we sat down with the students, we toured the school, we popped into a bunch of classrooms, got to do a lot of interaction, and I'm just always impressed every single time I visit one of our school sites with our students, with their ability to communicate and feedback and give feedback. We talked a lot about Student Senate and how that works, and Mike Maxwell was very interested in how that process works within our district. I don't want to speak for him. He seemed very impressed by those things that were happening there. And we talked a lot about communication as well. Like what does communication look like, and how does that look different for parents and students? And our communications team was there as well too, so we got some good feedback, and it was just really interesting and exciting to see. And I'm just blown away by the depth and level and breadth of classes that we provide within our schools. And sitting in on the forensics class and sitting in on the different science classes and the multiple different types of literature classes that we have. It's always a fun experience going and seeing it actually in action. And so yeah, just really appreciative of Principal Ahern to bring us over there, and that's it.
Just a few things. Started my first talk with the trustee for this school year. And I had great conversations actually with 3 parents in our school district. Want to pass along like comments from one of them. He actually is an alum of our school district, but moved away for a long time with his family, started his family, and now he's back, job opportunity, I think employment opportunity. And so he has two kids now, one in middle school and one in our high school. And he's very complimentary to, you know, to the two schools, as well as he said that we have excellent teachers. So, and, you know, from compared to where he's been, and so I just want to kind of mention that. Thanks to our communication group, I was able to share in the with bright lights, right? Friday brights. Yes, okay. That I got to attend a summer internship graduation event by the Apapa Tri-Valley chapter group. And two of our students recognized two students. There were more students, but two of them, the graduates, were our students in our school district, and they had completed internships with the Congressman DeSaulnier's office, as well as our City of San Ramon council member Veros's office. And they, you know, had great experience on what public leaders do, right, at the state and local level. So we got to recognize them. I think a few of us attended last night a touching 9/11 memorial in a Danville with other local leaders and community. And our Monte Vista High School choir did a beautiful renditions of songs. So really commend choir teacher there, as well as the students. I know our YouTube participants or viewers might not be able to see the back of the room, but beautiful art from our students at Del Amigo High School. And that reminded me that to encourage, so great work, kids. I mean, it's wonderful. I don't even know how the installation of one of them got up there yet. It must have been a lot of work. But anyway, I want to encourage all students in our districts to maybe take a look, check in with your PTA, because the PTA Reflections art program has started again this year. And we want to make sure that, hey, you know, for those of you who want to show your creativity in different ways, always, you'll participate. And you'll have to kind of check in with your school PTA people. Also wanted to doing some promotion for our PTA Advocacy Day is this October 23rd. No, sorry, 27th. It's a Friday. It's going to be held in the San Ramon Community Center. And this day-long conference is going to have very interesting and important panels on topics to benefit our students. The theme this year, it's about kids, developing connection and community to help our children thrive. So please check out the San Ramon Valley Council PTA website too. I think registration is open, so check them out. One more shout out is also the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation Run for Education is coming up as well on October 8th. Please sign up. My husband and I are signed up. We are, full disclosure, for me, it's not Run for Education. It's gonna be a walk for education. Might run maybe the last 5 yards to the finish line, you know, with that camera. Take advantage of their photo op, but no, but seriously, it is a great not only fundraising event, but it's a great community event for our for our community. There's a start in Danville and one in San Ramon, depending on the run that you choose. So anyway, that's enough for me. Thanks.
Thanks all of you brave souls who hung with us to hear what we have to say. I appreciate it. Usually we clear the room when we start this. I attended the kickoff for the Run for Education for the affiliates, and they had a great turnout, and it's a very enthusiastic group. So I have great expectations for the run. I will be there. Rachel and I are on the parcel tax information committee. And so we have done some presentations to the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation Board of Directors and affiliates and the council PTA, and you'll be hearing lots more about that in the future. I attended the town of Danville. Jesse and I are liaisons to the town of Danville, so we had our meeting with them, and the hot topic of conversation was all of the power outages in Danville and Alamo that affected our schools tremendously. And as a result, the council asked the PG&E to come to the council meeting last Tuesday to explain themselves, which was very interesting. And I was there and presented on behalf of the school district the consequences and costs that it has cost us as a school district and the disruption to our families and our students. Luckily, it was picked up by the media, so the story is definitely out there. And after hearing all the explanations, I don't really know whether they really have an explanation. They came up with a lot of different things. Hopefully the future will be better. As Susanna said, some of us attended the 9/11 memorial ceremony yesterday at Oak Hill Park, and it was really, really beautiful. I also started my talk with the trustees for the year, and I had 7 people. So I had back-to-back Zoom meetings all day, but it was very enlightening, and there was a lot of good conversation and some parents that are new to the district that just needed some help and direction on where to get assistance for certain things. I think that's it. 4 of us attended the 40th anniversary of the city of San Ramon, which was really a beautiful tribute to the city. And it was a great community event, and it was really fun, and we got a good picture. That's all from me. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'll start with the gala. So at the San Ramon Gala, I did want to point out that there were a lot of elected officials and longtime residents of San Ramon, and many of them spoke highly of the district and how the district was a huge value add for the city, and it was really wonderful for us to hear that. They thanked us, and so I'll be someone to thank everyone on behalf of them. I had the opportunity to be interviewed by a student who is a journalist with the Doherty Valley Wildcats Tribune. Sanjana Malapati. I'm sure I'm saying her name wrong, but she asked me questions about the parcel tax, the potential parcel tax, both the renewal and the supplemental. And I'm looking forward to seeing that article, and it'll be interesting to kind of get a student take on that. I wanted to say thank you to our staff and school sites for the back to school nights. I believe they're all complete now. I know that that's a big event for everyone, parents and staff, teachers and administration. So I appreciate everyone's hard work in welcoming our students and our parents back to the school year. And then we also had a San Ramon Valley Unified School District and City of San Ramon liaison meeting. And I guess one of the main things, besides all of us being very grateful for the ease and transition into the school year with traffic, the prior year there was some struggles with some of that, and this year it seems to be going smoothly on all fronts. And then the Bollinger Canyon pedestrian bridge has begun construction. I believe they said it'll be finished in spring of 25 or fall of 24, at least a year. And there's a little bit of construction traffic happening, but I know that many families are anxious for that to be complete, and the students seem to be rerouted in a safe and direct way. And so that seems to be going pretty smoothly. And then lastly, I just wanted to, I say this at a lot of meetings, LCAP committee. I know we're looking for stakeholders for parent representatives, and just want to do a shout out for that as well. I don't know when our first meeting is, but if anyone's interested, it's really a great opportunity to become involved at the district level and to learn about about budget, about how the district interacts with school sites, about strategic directions, about a lot of the different programming and stuff, and to not just learn about it, to actually have a voice in the conversation and the direction that then is brought to the board. So you can shoot me an email directly and I'll get you to the right person. There's also if you or Tammy. And there's if you just Google LCAP in SRVUSD LCAP, you'll get to the page. So that's my pitch.
So to add on to things that haven't already been talked about, because a few of us have done some things together. Last Wednesday in this room, I got to attend the Teen Stress workshop, I guess you would call it, that was put on by the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce and the Three Valleys Community Fund, and the school district and the fire district and a bunch of other entities were partners as well. It was an amazing hour and a half, and it included some skits done by local students with the help of the I Can Do That Performing Arts Center over there on Diablo. And in less than 10 minutes, they depicted 3, perfect scenes. It reminded me of the kind of skits that Jaja used to do through Culture in the Cheap Out. Yeah. So anyway, that kind of set the stage. And then we had a wonderful student panel. It was great to see new faces on the student panel. We're not always sending the same students, which is really great. They were all articulate. The only thing we needed to do was have these out for them. They really needed the microphones, but anyway, fix that in the future. It was recorded, so if anybody wants to look for it afterwards, it was very worthwhile. And then the poet laureate, student poet laureate and the adult poet laureate for the town of Danville led an activity. And when I saw that on the agenda, I was kind of like, but it was actually really, really good. And they kind of collaborated on a poem based on what they heard the audience's feedback and questions about, just right there in real time. It was unbelievable. So anyway, definitely look for that video. Susanna talked about those things. In addition to the parcel text presentations that Shelley mentioned, we also, I got to do one last Friday for the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation's endowment board. And they asked fabulous questions. I always think of that group as like the stalwarts of our community. They've been involved and been around for a long time, and they asked such fabulous questions and are hopefully going to be very supportive of us. I'm excited about these facilities master plan meetings. I know Cal High's was last week. I'm going to Dory's this week. And I think there's the Monte Vista and San Ramon ones coming up, but I'm excited to see how that process works. And then my talk with the trustees start up next Tuesday. Mine will be on Tuesday nights, the Tuesday after our board meeting. So not always a consistent date, but they follow the board meeting. So excited for all of us, reinstituting that. So that's all my things.
I forgot to mention my talk with a trustee also is starting soon. So, and you can just make an appointment on my Calendly and follow the link that I know Alana has sent out. So I'm doing the last Friday of every month.
Okay. And so just to wrap up, I hope we all see everyone at the Run for Education and at Advocacy Day, because those are 2 very important events for our presidents. Oh, one more thing for all of your calendars. Have you gotten invitations for the CSBA Roadshow event on October 2nd? Okay. The sign up is weird. The website is so slow, but eventually you get on. Okay. With that, 9:05, meeting adjourned.
Excellent.
Thank you, audience, for sticking